It's the 19th of August, and this is your News Bite brought to you by eNCA.com. I'm Marcel Gordon, and in your news today, Fadiel Adams gets a Madlanga Commission dressing down, a cemetery in Durban becomes a site for public indecency, and iconic songstress Angelique Kidjo honored in Hollywood. In what was probably one of the more relatable moments at the Madlanga Commission, Fadiel Adams admitted, and I quote, "Emails are not my strong point. The National Coloured Congress leader has been caught in the crosshairs of the Commission after claiming his parliamentary issue laptop had not been working, and therefore he did not receive the Rule 3 notice from the Commission requiring that he appear before it. Parliament disputed the claim, and Adams went as far as telling eNCA that Parliament had defamed him. But Adams was back in the hot seat on Wednesday, and Commission Chair Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga challenged him over the entire affair.
That's the only communication you got from the Commission until April 2026. It is hard for me to believe that you would forget about that communication from this one, the only so-called Madlanga Commission. If you say you take the Commission seriously, I find it hard to believe that you forget about that communication. And this is not mundane communication. It's communication that contains a formal document, a Rule 3 notice that requires of you to do certain things. Formal communication, and you respond to it. It's just difficult for me to understand how you could ever forget about such communication.
Chairperson, I understand the inference that you're drawing. I would probably draw the same if I was sitting on that side. So, once again, please allow me to apologize for that.
But how could you forget? There's only one Madlanga Commission, and there was just this one Rule 3 notice to which you responded. Underline the fact that you responded. How can you tell us that you only got communication 3 months ago? How could you forget something like that?
President Cyril Ramaphosa has objected to the appointment of Advocate Thandazani Madonsela as the evidence leader for Parliament's Section 89 Impeachment Committee. The committee's majority voted 2 weeks ago to recommend Madonsela for the position, Advocate Kate Hofmeyr receiving the second highest number of votes for the gig. Now, committee chair Makushule Gane has confirmed that he received a letter from Ramaphosa's office objecting to Madonsela's appointment. In it, the president points to a potential conflict of interest, with Madonsela having recently advised the ANC on matters pertaining to the impeachment inquiry. He also highlights a previous decision to remove Madonsela from the Judicial Service Commission in 2022. Here's Ghana explaining the next steps.
So we're currently studying and consulting with the legal services, and we're going to respond to the president, but also give an update to the committee in terms of what are the options available to the committee. We would like to have an evidence leader appointed and confirmed as soon as possible. So we have done our part as the committee, where we recommended that Advocate Madonsela be appointed. But now that we have received this letter from the president, we cannot ignore this letter. We have to consider it. We need to take all the possible options and be able to ensure that the committee is progressing within the laws.
Living next to a graveyard would usually mean peace and quiet, but since January, that has not been the case. For people living near a cemetery in Verulam in Durban, the site has become popular amongst men wanting to engage in sexual acts at all hours of the day. A security company has ramped up patrols in an effort to curb the disturbing behavior, and eNCA's Deepens went and spoke to security guards who say these men are unfazed even when they're confronted.
And I've seen some men coming in, maybe like during the day, in the morning, or even in the afternoon, both black and Indian. They are very clean and neat. So some of the residents were like complaining that they saw some men doing some activities there, like masturbating, some are coming to smoke and all.
It's been going on since January. Yet the individuals have remained defiant even after being caught red-handed.
Yeah, we once did, and the workers once did. They're chasing with stones and all, but they don't stop until they finish. They'll see that you see them, you're looking at them, you're shouting, chasing them away, but they don't stop until they finish it. Then they take their stuff and leave.
Police say the incidents constitute a criminal offense. But for now, local security companies are working to keep the troublemakers out. Kind of support will Reaction Unit South Africa be offering? Will you be lending a hand?
There's been no cases opened. Residents, although they're upset, sometimes they feel that, these matters are trivial for them to go and open cases. Reaction Unit South Africa has committed to stepping up patrols.
It's one of the oldest scams in good old Josie, and yet scammers posing as city power technicians are still gaining entry into people's houses and robbing them. The power utility has yet again warned customers to be vigilant of these criminals, especially as it is about to embark on another range of planned outages to do much-needed maintenance work on its aging infrastructure. Here's the acting CEO, Charles Tluwane.
Arrives at their doorsteps, at their premises. If they are from city power, they need to understand what is that they are coming to do.
Okay.
There's no one who must just arrive and say, I'm going to cut you off without a notice of disconnection.
All right.
The city will send a disconnection notice in advance.
Okay.
And then just to alert you to say we are coming. That's the first thing. But the second thing, if you did not log any technical query, no one should just arrive at your doorstep.
The International Criminal Court says it remains undeterred and stands firmly behind its staff and victims of unimaginable atrocities. The statement follows yet another attempt by the United States to undermine the work of the International Court, just a month after the Trump administration launched a fresh campaign against the ICC. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has now imposed sanctions against the ICC's president Tomoko Akane of Japan and senior trial lawyer Abdoulaye Seye from Senegal, repeating their earlier claim that the ICC had no authority to investigate them or their allies. Rubio said the ICC is, quote, corrupt and fatally politicized, and said it has maliciously abused its authority. eNCA's Mitch McCann reports from New York.
It isn't clear exactly what matter the court was investigating that has prompted the US response, but it's reported Shiyi has been probing Israeli funding for illegal settlements and the distribution of weapons to settlers in the West Bank. The US government says the individuals directly engaged in efforts by the ICC to investigate, arrest, detain or prosecute officials whose government has not consented to ICC jurisdiction. The sanctions mean any US assets the individuals may have will be frozen and they will be cut off from the US financial system. The White House has already imposed sanctions on 11 ICC officials, and 3 judges affected sued the administration, arguing the measures taken against them were against the law. Currently, South Africa has an ongoing case against Israel, accusing it of genocide in Gaza at the International Court of Justice, or ICJ. That's different from the ICC because the International Court of Justice hears cases between countries, while the ICC prosecutes individuals. While there are 193 members of the United Nations, for example, only 125 countries are parties to the International Criminal Court. The US is not one of those 125.
In other news, we're keeping an eye on the death toll from a ferry disaster on Zimbabwe's Lake Kariba has now risen to 93, reportedly making it the country's deadliest transport disaster. The ferry had a capacity to carry 90 passengers, but local media estimates at least 168 people were actually on board when it was hit by a strong wave and overturned a week ago. And Iran's armed forces on Wednesday warned Gulf countries against assisting the US military, saying it would be tantamount to joining American military operations. At the same time, US President Donald Trump has confirmed that there are no talks currently taking place with Iran. He again insisted that the Strait of Hormuz was open, contradicting Iran's assertion that the important waterway remained shut to shipping as it continued to pursue an operating plan with Oman. Onto the world of sports, the standoff between the Comrades Marathon Association and the KwaZulu-Natal Athletics Association has taken another turn. The two bodies have been at loggerheads for almost a year now, with KZNA announcing this week that it was distancing itself from next year's marathon and removing it from its 2027 calendar. But CMA Chair Mark Leathers says next year's Centenary running of the marathon will go ahead. He says all of this is about KZNA and Athletics South Africa struggling to prove their relevance.
They are not needed for anything in the safety aspect and from a planning aspect. And our members have just turned around and said, well, guys, what do you bring to the table versus what do you take off the table? And they themselves cannot answer that question. So the CMA is not at loggerheads with anybody. The members have given us very clear direction to say go ahead and organize things independently, which we're perfectly capable of doing and are doing. And it seems to be that the federations are still having some sort of an issue. You'll notice that the CMA has not been in the media or approaching or issuing statements, because as far as we're concerned, we've got the direction and we're going that independent path.
Can you do that, though, without the sanctioning of Athletics South Africa? How are you going to go about it? Are you going to direct, of course, everything that you need to the municipality?
That's exactly what has happened for many, many years in the past. The sanctioning has not given any sort of assistance or aid at all with regards to any organizing or municipal approvals for at least the last decade. We have liaised directly with the respective municipalities, with province, etc., and that is continuing.
And finally, 5-time Grammy winner Angelique Kidjo has been honored with her very own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Shockingly, but probably not surprisingly, Kidjo is the first Black African to be honored in this way. Born in Benin, Kidjo has built an international career spanning more than 40 years and 18 albums, as well as being named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people. She's also been nominated as one of Africa's 50 most iconic figures by the BBC and one of the 100 most inspiring people in the world by The Guardian. The glamorous 66-year-old offered her thanks to her team and family, and amongst the Hollywood luminaries to honor her was acting legend Willem Dafoe.
I mean, you guys can understand the impact of this on the continent of Africa or in my country. I've come from that country that have inspired the world through its culture. And we just don't know it. We Africans don't know what we've given to the world, that we continue giving to the world for the music to exist. Without us, there's no music possible on this planet.
In this age of auto-tune, timid performances, and over-curated images, whether singing with a pianist accompanying her, collaborating with Alicia Keys, Yo-Yo Ma, or Phil Glass, among many others, or performing with a symphonic orchestra or any configuration of band, she always brings it and never disappoints.
And that's how we wrap today's News Bite. For developments on these and more, keep an eye on eNCA.com and DStv channel 403.